Morning everybody, welcome to this week's Tillers Turf Talk. Hope you're all keeping really well. My name's Richard, for anybody new to the channel. And wow, I can't believe it's the 1st of October on Sunday. Now for me this heralds the start of autumn and a very popular time of year for laying new lawns. So on this week's Turf Talk we're going to look at 6 things that will influence your establishment of your new turf, and also it may be worthwhile to watch if you've laid one fairly recently, and just for lawn care in general. So these are 6 key factors, 6 things that can influence the success of your lawn and its overall health. So I'm going to start here in this field here with number 1, and that is the subject of dew. Unfortunately, because of the strong wind last night, there isn't any. Now, it's really important if you get the dew off your lawn, and the reason for this is if you happen to experience any kind of turf disease at all, then a wet, damp lawn will only encourage the spread of it. But it also encourages things like moss, worms, all that kind of thing as well. So the drier you can keep that surface, the better. Now you can clear that off with things like brushes, with switches. If it's a big lawn, then 2 of you, one each end of a hose pipe or a heavy rope, anything like that, just to flick it off is going to only be beneficial, only going to serve to help you. So great piece of advice there, and as like I say, as long as ground conditions allow you to do it, really important job to do, and you'll definitely benefit in the long run. The number 2 thing I want to discuss with you is mowing. So Ryan going past us right on cue there. Now lots of things I can say about mowing, and number 1, my general rule of thumb is on new turf or any turf at all, if it needs mowing, mow it. As long as the ground conditions allow you to do this and the weather's okay and the leaf's nice and dry, no reason why you can't crack on with that at all. I would suggest boxing off. We've got to remember that the whole biological system much slower through the winter months, so the breakdown of these clippings is going to be a lot slower, so I would always advise to take them off. A couple of other things to consider. Number 1 is just lift your height of cut a little bit. Remember that the grass leaf is still dependent on the sunlight for photosynthesis to keep its colour, and that slight little bit extra leaf there will just help it do that. The other thing as well to consider is gone are the days of putting mowers away in September and not getting them out till Easter. We get sustained growth now, particularly with these new modern ryegrass cultivars. We get growth now right up to Christmas and beyond. So in a domestic situation, I would suggest that you perhaps have your mower sharpened twice a year. A lot of people just do it once at the back end, ready for the following season. I would say have it done once at the back end to keep the mower nice and sharp for winter cuts, and have it done again in spring for the cutting season. Now every time you cut the grass, you know, with a blunt blade you're potentially going to nag the top of the leaf. You're going to leave it open to infection, potential disease, all these kind of things. It's less important in the summer because it's grown out a lot quicker, so it doesn't stay there so long for that to happen. But in the winter months, when you could be a week or 2 between cuts, really important that wound heals as quickly as possible. So the sharper the mower and the crisper the cut, the better. So number 3 on my guide to nurturing your new turf through the autumn months is the subject of leaves. Now there's plenty on the floor here, and I'm afraid they're unavoidable when you've got trees next to the lawn, or you've got a big tree locally where the leaves may fall down and blow onto your lawn. So as soon as you can, get them cleared off. Now you can either rake them off, you can set, if you've got a rotary mower, set it a little bit higher, and that will often act as a good hoover. Obviously leave the box on the back. Or you can get things like leaf blowers, leaf collectors, all these things. Once you've collected them up, put them on a compost heap somewhere, or send them to your local green waste recycling, and they will be put to good use in the future. Now the 2 main reasons we want to clear the leaves off. Number 1, if we don't, they will rot down and most likely thin your lawn out. And number 2, they're covering the grass leaf like at the moment here. So that grass plant is not getting the sunlight it needs to retain its colour, and at the best you're going to get a very sick lawn and some very yellow looking turf. So absolutely clear them off as soon as you possibly can. Item number 4 on the list is nutrition. Now I get asked about nutrition a lot, and I hear a lot of bad advice given on it. So my advice, or the easiest way to put it, is turf is a living thing just like humans are, and we all need food, we all need water, we all need the nutrients that we require to keep us fit and healthy. So my advice is, you know, if it needs feeding, feed it. And it doesn't have to stop in the autumn, it doesn't have to stop any time of the year. You know, regular feeding through the winter is okay as well, particularly on the younger new turf. Remember, those roots have been cut. The turf is not getting the nutritional inputs that it was getting when it was out in the field. So just an example, during the winter time, we're not so dependent on nitrogen. The top growth is starting to slow down, and because it's not growing so vigorously, the plant's not requiring as much. What we're trying to focus on now, and I guess it's a bit like having a flu jab, is we're concentrating on the inner well-being of the plant. So things like the phosphate, potash will help to sort of harden the cell walls, it'll help with root development and keep the plant healthy from the inside outwards. So this one particular one here also has a little bit of iron in it, which again will help sort of stave off any sort of moss. It will strengthen and harden the plant again, and you know, give it a bit extra resistance sort of disease and anything else that sort of puts them under stress in the winter. So this particular one here is a 6-5-10. What that means is that is its NPK ratio, so it's 6% nitrogen, 5 phosphate, 10 potash. In the early days of establishment, the phosphate in this very, very useful, like I say, for root development. And as with all fertilisers, always follow the manufacturer's recommendation. Have a look online, wherever. There's plenty of places sell it. I say ask the expert advice, but like I say, follow the instructions on the bag and you'll do no harm at all. Number 5 on my list of things to consider is something that you may quite easily overlook, and that is the subject of shade. Now we all know that grass and turf needs daylight to survive, and you may have areas of your lawn that are absolutely fine all summer, but with the shorter days in the autumn winter, you may find it's not getting the sunlight or the daylight that it would normally receive, and you can see some deterioration that way. And if you feel that's going to happen, then it's always worth just reviewing the environment that your lawn is in and have a look around. You know, maybe you can lower the height of a hedge, or I'm not suggesting we go cut down majestic oak trees like this, but maybe we could take a few branches off the bottom, allow a little more daylight into the lawn itself. Or you could prune some shrubs back, or just thin things out a little bit. But really, really important that all that turf gets plenty of daylight, plenty of sunlight. Like I say, it may get it in the summer, but it may not get it in the winter. Number 6, and that is the subject of frost. Now I get asked lots and lots of questions about frost. Is it safe to lay the turf? Is my turf going to die if it becomes frosty? Is it going to die if I mow it, then the frost comes afterwards? I think the answer to all these things is there's absolutely no problem at all with frost on your new turf. Now obviously, if you can, you want to be laying it onto ground that's unfrozen, so keep an eye on the weather forecast and obviously plan to have your turf when ground conditions are going to allow you to. You know, if you're going to prolong hard frost in the ground, the chances are I won't be able to lift it anyway. So obviously communicate with the office and let them know your requirements on that one. Now regarding the frost itself is, number 1, yeah, obviously don't walk all over your lawn when it's frozen. You're just going to make footprints, and although they're only superficial, they do look ugly. Obviously don't mow your lawn in the frost, but equally if you do need to mow your lawn at all during the winter months and there is a bit of frost and you do mow it, don't worry, your lawn isn't going to die the next time you get a frost. There'll be no problem with there at all. So like I say, the main thing with the frost really is just make sure that your ground conditions are suitable when you receive your turf, there isn't a prolonged frost. And once you've laid it, if you get a frost in the evening or overnight, no problem at all, not going to do any harm whatsoever. So I hope you found that all very useful. So I'm going to finish the video here, and once again thank you all for liking, for retweeting, for sharing, for telling everybody. The channel is growing now, we're nearly up to 400 viewers, which is fabulous stuff, so really, really chuffed about that. We want to continue to bring them to you, we really enjoy making them. And please subscribe if you haven't already to Tiller's Turf TV on YouTube, it doesn't cost you anything. But in the meantime, have a fabulous weekend and we'll catch you next week. Take care everyone.